I don't know about you, but the Democrats who are rallying around this criminal illegal immigrant who's a citizen of another country and a credibly accused gang member, I don't know about you, but it's starting to piss the out of me. We've got more information about this guy. And by the way, it appears his wife has lied about her marriage with him and his conduct as a husband and a father. We're going to break all that down for you because he's just a Maryland man, don't you know? Plus, Joe Biden reemerged, and boy, are we happy about that. Yeah, well, honestly, we were getting a little dry here for content, but Joe Biden, absolute gold. Bernie Sanders hits Coachella, and we've got a lot of information about that you need. And also, Tom Homan, absolutely unleashed against the media about our border and about our immigration policy. Hot topics all around, and you come here for the facts and the truth, and we appreciate it. We're brought to you by Birch Gold. My name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. All right, we're going to get to the latest information about the Maryland man and the lies and how Democrats are rallying around his cause, excusing the inexcusable, putting more effort into protecting a citizen of a foreign country instead of the citizens of this country. We're going to get to all of that in 60 seconds. First, though, tariffs, crazy stuff going on with the world markets, investments. You may still be feeling a little shaky, maybe a little chaotic, widespread inflation potentially on the horizon, supply chain disruptions possibly because of tariffs. There is a silver lining, and I mean silver lining. President Trump specifically exempted gold and silver bullion from those sweeping tariffs. So no trouble in the precious metals markets. Now, these new policies are triggering significant problems elsewhere, but this administration, the Trump administration, preserved your ability to diversify in precious metals. He specifically exempted gold and silver. So if you're concerned about your savings, if you're concerned about your retirement accounts, have a free consultation with a Birch Gold Precious Metals specialist. To do that, you just need to text my name, Larry. That's the first step in getting all this information. Larry, text it to 989898. You're going to receive a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation. You're just getting information. Learn how to hold gold in a tax-sheltered account. Birch Gold is going to help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. Isn't it time you sort of diversify and cover yourself? You got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau when you contact Birch Gold, and that's peace of mind. Text my name, Larry, to the number 989898. Again, Larry. Text Larry to 989898. Do it today. All right, we did a there we go. We did a deep dive yesterday in the paperwork, the court filings about the so-called Maryland man, illegal immigrant, citizen of El Salvador, in the country since 2012, should have been deported in 2019. At the last minute, he said, if you send me back there, I'll be murdered by a gang, the Barrio 18, the 18th Street gang. And so he was allowed to stay, but the deportation order was still active. He never got asylum. He got rounded up. He got sent back. By the way, when he was arrested in 2019, as we told you, he was hanging out with known MS-13 gang members, and he was wearing known MS-13 gear. Everyone's like, he was just wearing a Chicago Bulls jersey. Yeah, that's MS-13 gear. You're a Maryland man. You've been here in this country since 2012, and you're rooting for the Bulls. Nobody roots for the Bulls in Maryland, and certainly not in the last 10 years. Bulls haven't been worth rooting for since Jordan was there. That said, we've uncovered more lies. Now, this one stemming from his dear wife, who is getting a whole lot of media attention, as you can well imagine. Here's how C-SPAN covered it. Look at that lower third chyron from C-SPAN. Wife of Maryland man deported to El Salvador speaks to press. So he's not a Maryland man. He's a Salvadoran, and he was not deported to El Salvador. Technically, he was returned to El Salvador. But there she was. There she was. They got their GoFundMe going. By the way, see the shirt of the rather Zoftig woman next to the wife? the red shirt, it says CASA. You know what that is? That's Casa de Maryland. Casa de Maryland is a Soros-funded activist group that wants to do away with our borders, that wants to do away with all immigration laws. They are radicals. Look it up. Casa de Maryland. There's a Casa de something in pretty much every state of the union right now. And they spend a lot of money and fund a lot of Democrats to do their bidding, including the senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen. We'll get to him in a minute. So there's Casa de Maryland boosting her up there, giving her the platform. The media covers her, wife of Maryland man. So what has the wife of the Maryland man been doing? Well, she set up this GoFundMe account, as I just mentioned, already raised 96% of their $170,000 goal. That was last night, though. I'm sure they're well over their goal now. Good for them. There's big business, right? Oh, excuse me. There it is. Good for them. Big business when you're raising money from the left. By the way, notice the hat that our Maryland man's wearing. The Wizards? No. No DC. He lives like 20 miles actually from where the Washington Wizards play. He's a big basketball fan. But why did he pick the Bulls? Not the Lakers, not the Celtics, not the Heat. Why the Bulls? Fascinating. Anyway, there you go. They're raising their money big time on GoSendMe. And part of the pitch that she made there for the GoSendMe account was talking about how Kilmar Armando Abrego is such a good husband and such a good father. He's a solid man. He's so good. I don't know what I'm going to do without my husband, my great, wonderful husband, which was, by the way, exactly what she testified in court as well when she was testifying on his behalf. He's a wonderful husband. He's a wonderful father. I got a hypothetical question for you. Do you believe that a wife would describe her husband as such a great guy and a wonderful man and a wonderful husband if at the same time she had to have a protective order against him? Or, objectively speaking, if a wife is telling you how great her husband is and what a wonderful man he is, yet at the same time, you know that there is a protective order protecting you against that man, wouldn't you, judging the situation, say, yeah, listen, I'm sorry, I'm not going to believe you that he's such a wonderful husband if you had to get a protective order? Well, the great journalist Andy No has found that protective order. Jennifer Vasquez versus Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. That, again, is about, actually, Upper Marlboro is like 15 miles from downtown D.C., from Capitol Hill. Prince George's County, Maryland, filed May 1st, 4 years ago. This is after he was due to be deported in 2019. This is a domestic violence case that was ordered and opened against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I always want to say Kilmore. Andy No says the wife of the deported suspected gang terrorist, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, either lied to the court when she petitioned for a domestic violence protective order, or she's lying now on her GoFundMe, claiming that he's an excellent husband. Either way, somebody lied, because she obtained that order when she petitioned for the protective order against her husband. And when you asked for that protective order, you say, yeah, I needed this protective order because he's beating me up or he's threatening me or whatever it is. But then here she is. He's an excellent father, always been there for our 3 children and all their needs. 2 of them on the autism spectrum. I hate it when people use their children who are on the autism spectrum to get money and to get sympathy. Third has Epley. So all 3 are special needs kids. Look at that. Kilmar's been the main provider for our household. Really, where did he get his money? By the way, if he's the main provider and he's working so hard and making money, he's in the country illegally. He's in the country illegally, but yet he continues to work. Isn't that furthering the unlawful behavior and illegal behavior? I'd love to see, does he have a fake driver's license? Does he have a fake social security number? Did he obtain those numbers through identity theft or paying somebody for identity theft? These are all felonies. But there she is, raising $170,000 or more on what appears to be a lie, that he's an excellent father. Either that's the lie right there on GoFundMe, or That's the lie right there in court when she asked for a protective order for domestic violence against Mr. Kilomar Abrego Garcia. Somebody's lying. One of those is a lie. Meanwhile, this is a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, because I got to say the Trump administration is doing a pretty good job of getting the messaging out about this guy and pushing back against the fake news about the Maryland man, who's a real big Bulls fan, which is still very weird to me. Here, check this out on ABC News.
I think what really matters to Americans is that this MS-13 gang member, who unfortunately, Jay, you and a lot of your colleagues have called a Maryland man, when in reality,
I'm going to stop you there. What is your evidence,
member.
Trisha? Wait, I got to stop you there. What's your evidence that he's in MS-13?
I love that, and we're going to get to that in a second, but look at the Chiron again, lower third Chiron, court showdown over Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. It makes it sound like this guy was born in Baltimore or Annapolis or something. He's a Salvadoran man in the country illegally. No one's disputing that, except the media never wants to tell you that. But here we go. What's your evidence that he's an MS-13 gang member? Now, you already know this because you watched our show yesterday. 2 different judges determined, based on the evidence presented to them, that he is a member of MS-13. And before I even let her answer, think about this for a minute. How do you prove somebody's a member of a gang, a criminal gang? Just think about it. Think it through for a second, because these journalists, these teleprompter readers, they never think it through. Think it through for yourself. How do you prove somebody's a member of a gang? Because they don't walk around with cards, right? Here's your membership card. That doesn't happen. There's no paper trail of you paying your dues to the gang. How do you prove that somebody is a member of a gang? There must be a way. And what you do is you provide evidence. Part of it has to do with the clothing that you wear. It does. I'm sorry, you may not like that. You may think, well, just because he's wearing a Chicago Bulls jersey. Well, if everyone in the gang wears Chicago Bulls jersey and he's wearing a Chicago Bulls jersey and you're not even anywhere near Chicago and Michael Jordan isn't even playing anymore, because really, again, literally no reason to root for the Bulls at this point if you don't live in Chicago and Jordan isn't playing. All right. That's part of how you prove it. I'm sorry. That's just the facts. The second way you prove it is who you consort with, who you associate with, who you're hanging out with. So if you're dressed like a gang member and everyone you're hanging out with dressed the same way are, in fact, gang members, and they admit to being gang members, or people all point their fingers and say, yeah, he's in our gang. Yeah, he's in our gang under police interrogation, then that's how you prove somebody's a gang member. And guess what? That's exactly what the court records show about this guy. He was hanging out. He was picked up in 2019, hanging out in the parking lot of a Home Depot with gang members. 4 of them were arrested. They were all brought into Prince George's County Police. Prince George's County, one of the most liberal Democrat places in America. And under separate questioning, it was determined by the police that they were all gang members. That was presented as evidence in front of a judge, and the judge said, yep, he's a gang member. That's the evidence. And I don't know that because I've been given some, revelation from God. I know that because I took the time to look at the court papers and I saw that. Why don't the people in the media do that? So here you go. He's really upset. How dare you? How dare you say he's a gang member? What's your evidence? What's your evidence?
Well, there's actually been 2 separate immigration judges, Jay, who have confirmed and ruled that he is a member of MS-13.
Well,
that as well as we have intelligence.
It was brought up in deportation proceedings. Jay. But what's the evidence that was brought up in those deportation proceedings?
And they dismissed his appeal, Jay. I can do this all day, Jay. He is a member of MS-13. I don't think you'd want to be his neighbor, Jay. I sure wouldn't. And I don't think many Americans watching would want to be this individual's neighbor. He's been involved in human trafficking. He's been involved in labor trafficking, and he should not be in this country. So whether he's in an El Salvadorian jail or a U.S. detention facility, I am so very glad, as are millions of Americans, that he is off of U.S. streets. Because remember, Jay, who is MS-13? They maim, they rape. They kill Americans for sport, and the American people are done with it. They said so on November 5th, 2024.
Well said, young lady. There's another good media appearance, too, by the Attorney General Pam Bondi this morning on Fox News Channel. Watch.
Well, we did the right thing. It was one additional step in paperwork that needed to be taken. Now he is declared as a foreign transnational gang member. So, Bill, even if he Even if President Bukele said, we'll send him back, all that would happen is one more step in paperwork and he would go right back to El Salvador because he is an MS-13 member. ICE testified to that. There was a witness testimony. There was an immigration judge who testified in 2019. There was an appellate judge. All of these individuals and judges ruled that he was a member of MS-13. They are one of the most violent gangs. He is an illegal alien, and I'm sick of the liberal media saying that he's a Maryland man. He's not a Maryland man. He's a guy from El Salvador who's part of one of the most violent gangs in our country. They are organized. They are committing some of the worst crimes in our country. You know, just right here, half an hour away from where I'm standing, we arrested a MS-13 member who was one of the top in the entire country of MS-13. And he didn't have any charges until we went in there. He had 4 guns. We charged him with the gun charges. We dropped the gun charges because we're going to send him back to where he came from, El Salvador. He is now fighting us in court not to drop the gun charges so he can stay in the state. Pretty absurd.
Right.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Think about that. This MS-13 thug that they picked up, we covered this for you, I think it was 2 weeks ago in Northern Virginia. His lawyers are begging the U.S. The Justice Department to not drop charges. No, please keep the charges against me. Don't drop the gun charges. Otherwise, I'll have to go back to El Salvador. That's how completely up our system is right now. And with all due respect to the Attorney General, who does a really good job, but she just said she's getting tired of people calling him Maryland man. But he is a Maryland man. I read it on the lower third ABC News. I mean, why would they lie? Why would they mischaracterize something? If ABC News says he's a Maryland man, he must be a Maryland man. All right, one other quickie on this. There's more. We're getting to Senator Van Hollen of Maryland in a minute. This guy is the Special Advisor Homeland Security for immigration issues. His name will come up. I forgot it for the second. He was on Sean Spicer's show last night. Take a look at this description because there's a couple of gems in here that you haven't gotten elsewhere. This is super important. Watch.
Well, baseline, I can tell you he's from El Salvador. He was adjudicated by an immigration court to be removed. So he was set up by ICE and their attorneys to go in front of an immigration judge. He was ordered deported. During those proceedings, he was also recognized as a gang member, and at the time of his arrest was involved with other gang members in a human trafficking event. And he was removed recently from the United States under the Alien Enemies Act, which the president asked DHS to implement, a law from quite a ways back, to be fair, but one that allows the president to determine that when our sovereignty is at stake, if we're being attacked by a foreign power or invaded by a foreign power, then immigration authorities, law enforcement can arrest and remove people in that condition. He was removed under those conditions. He also, via the reporting, said that he had a withholding order from a judge, which said that he was in danger in going back to El Salvador because of his gang affiliation. So more than one judge said that he was involved in gang activity.
All right. Did you catch that? And look at Sean's reaction to that. That's our buddy Sean Spicer, that's the appropriate reaction. They dive into this a little bit further, but I just need to play that one more time for you. All right. Because apparently, according to Mr. Vitello, who again works at Department of Homeland Security right now, he says that during his deportation hearing, he said, because we keep hearing, if you send me back there, Barrio 18 is going to kill me. Apparently, he said, because of my gang activity, because I'm MS-13. That's why they're going to kill. Not because of my mother's pupusa stand, which he originally. No, so watch it again. This is what he said. Watch.
The president to determine that when our sovereignty is at stake, if we're being attacked by a foreign power or invaded by a foreign power, then immigration authorities, law enforcement can arrest and remove people in that condition. He was removed under those conditions. He also, via the reporting, said that he had a withholding order from a judge, which said that he was in danger in going back to El Salvador because of his gang affiliation. So more than one judge said that he was involved in gang activity. He was sent to El Salvador on a flight that was commissioned by our government.
All right. So now listen, Trump administration should get the details of that out to the public as well. But it sounds like in his appeal, he made the case, and this is from the Homeland Security representative here, he made the case that his life is in danger when he goes back to El Salvador because of his affiliation with MS-13. If his defense attorneys made that case to try to keep him from being deported, that's a bombshell, absolute blockbuster. But it won't stop Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen from dropping everything and boarding a flight and going to El Salvador. Watch his video, and then I've got much to say. But here you go. This is your senator, Marylanders. Maryland men, actual Maryland men and Maryland women. This is your senator. This is what he's focusing on.
I'm here at the airport. I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador. The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia home until he returns to his family. I hope to meet with representatives of the government. I hope to have the chance to actually see Kilmar and see what his condition is. But we are going to keep fighting because this is a miscarriage of justice. The Supreme Court has ruled 9-0 that he was illegally taken out of the country and put in a prison in El Salvador. And this is about due process. This is about rule of law. What bullies do is they begin by picking on the most vulnerable. But if we get rid of the rule of law and due process in the United States, it's a short road from there to tyranny.
Wow. All right. So listen, Chris Van Hollen, senator from Maryland, and other Democrats, including Cory Booker of New Jersey and Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie, all these guys. This is the hill they're dying on. This is what they're going to go to the mat on. They have decided that a foreigner, a criminal who entered our country illegally and has been returned to his country after 13 years of being in this country illegally, he's been sent home, and he's dropping everything to go and try to save him. And as he put it, bring him back home. I'm sorry, where is home? Why is this home all of a sudden when he didn't even bother, to sign the guest book on his way in? He didn't even bother to, we have pretty lax asylum laws, I think we've learned in this country. You're really fearing for your life in your home country of El Salvador? You go through a port of entry and you say, I'm asking for asylum, and then the process begins. But he avoided that. I wonder why. I wonder why he avoided the legal process from the very beginning when he was entering this country legally. The most important clue here about what Chris Van Hollen is doing comes at the very, very beginning of this self-aggrandizing selfie video that he posted on his social media. Take a listen. Maybe you'll catch it. It's really hard to decipher, but I'll help you with it.
Here at the airport, I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador. The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting.
The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration know that we're going to keep fighting. The goal of this mission is domestic politics. The goal of this mission is to show Democrat donors and Democrat voters that I'm a fighter and I'll fight. And I'm fighting Trump. See, look at me. I'm fighting. Look at me. I've got my bag over my shoulder. I'm fighting. The goal of this mission is politics. It has nothing to do with the rule of law. It has nothing to do with the security of American citizens. It has nothing to do with due process, because this man has had his due process. The goal of this mission is politics. But here's the funny thing. It's lousy politics. Absolutely lousy politics. Chris Van Hollen is doing exactly what Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Alejandro Mayorkas did through their policies for the 4 years that turned out to be a disaster in this country. But now he's doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, and grandstanding, and he's proud of it. This is the political optics. They're actually going out of their way to perform and blast out to the universe. I'm just dumbfounded by it, because Donald Trump, once again, has gotten Democrats like Chris Van Hollen to defend the indefensible. So good on you, buddy. Head on down to El Salvador. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Now, what I would like to do, because as we mentioned yesterday, on the exact same day that this story became such a big deal, and Chris Van Hollen decided that he wanted to grandstand for Maryland man, MS-13 gang member, on that exact same day, another illegal immigrant from El Salvador affiliated with MS-13 was convicted of murdering a Maryland woman, an actual Maryland woman, born in Maryland, living in Maryland. She was abducted from a running path near her home in Bel Air, Maryland. She was sexually abused, she was raped, and she was murdered. She's the mother of 5. Her murderer was convicted. On the exact same day, Chris Van Hollen decided to start grandstanding about this issue and made the decision to head down to El Salvador for this guy, for the El Salvador citizen. So now I'm going to show you the video that Senator Van Hollen put out expressing his outrage over this murder and his sympathy for the American citizen, the Maryland woman who was murdered by this illegal immigrant from El Salvador, MS-13 gang member. Let's get that. Kevin, I seem to be missing that video. Do you did I not pull it up here, or have you got the video of Chris Van Hollen expressing his outrage and sympathy over the murder of Rachel Morin?
You know, I looked for hours this morning and just couldn't find it.
So there is no video of Chris Van Hollen doing that. Well, that's interesting.
That is correct.
That is very strange. Okay, well, we did go to Chris Van Hollen's X account and searched on his feed about any mention of Rachel Morin, because I'm sure even when he wasn't doing his selfie videos like this one, he was maybe writing things. He was posting letters on his official letterhead from his senator's office. He's got a pretty good budget there for media communications. If he wants to get the message out, he certainly can. So let's take a look. We did a search on everything that Chris Van Hollen has said on his social media account about Rachel Morin, the Maryland woman, his constituent, the American citizen, the voter, the taxpayer, who was abducted, kidnapped, sexually assaulted, raped, and murdered by an illegal alien from El Salvador. I'm sure there's a glitch in the search engine or something, right? It couldn't possibly be. He couldn't be that craven and disgusting, right? Could he? All right, well, listen, we've given you all the information on this and gotten you up to date here. With regard to the Democrats, Cory Booker, New Jersey, Chris Van Hollen, Maryland, who clearly are testing the waters to run for president, they have decided that this is a political winner for them, that they will stay silent and say nothing about American citizens who were murdered by illegal immigrant criminals in this country. In fact, they'll throw protections out there for those illegal immigrant criminals. And he will drop everything. He will drop everything and leave not just the state of America, because Chris Van Hollen lives about 45 minutes away from Rachel Morin's family's home. It's not that hard to get there. But instead, he's going to drop everything, leave the state, leave the country, fly down to Central America, and go to the mat for an MS-13 gang member who was in this country illegally and was returned back to his home. That's where these Democrats are right now. They think that this is a winning issue. They think they'll get your vote with this. And heck, what do I know? But I think they're wrong. If you like the work we do here on this show, please give our video a like, subscribe to our channel, become part of our permanent audience, and go to townhallvip.com and become a member. Become a member of Town Hall. Now, our VIP program is pretty cool. You get an ad-free experience on all of our sites. That's Town Hall, Hot Air, PJ Media, Red State. I know you go to Red State. That's very popular. And Twitchy and Bearing Arms. You get an ad-free experience. You get exclusive content just for VIP members, but you also help keep us going and keep us free from the advertising boycotts that often happen from the left, whether it's out in the open or whether it's those shadow boycotts where suddenly, hey, gee, your revenue is down this month. We have no idea why. We're Google. That's what happens. So become a VIP member. And if you use my name at checkout, LARRY, you'll get 50% off your VIP membership. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And even more importantly, Katie Pavich thanks you. Did I say Pavich?
Yeah.
What the hell? More importantly, Katie Pavlich thanks you. You might want to send that to Katie. I think she'll get a kick out of it. Your border czar, Tom Homan, first of all, mucho bueno upgrade over the last border czar, Kamala Harris. Tom Homan has no more Fs to give. He confronted the media about everything having to do with our border security issues right now and our immigration policies. And let's just let the border czar take it from here.
Does the administration expect that those migrants that have been sent to that prison in El Salvador will remain there?
You mean the terrorists that were removed?
Will they remain in that prison in El Salvador for the rest of their lives?
This administration will obey court orders, unlike the last administration. But if you ask me if I'm in favor of returning terrorists to the United States that are gang members that have, murdered and raped young women in this country, no, I'm not in favor of that at all.
Mr. Homan, the headline for border apprehensions by 95% since last March. Can you describe maybe some of the success behind these numbers?
Because I worked for the greatest president of my lifetime, Donald Trump. Trump 45 is successful, unprecedented. And we're even doing better this time. President Trump, I give him all the credit because he put executive actions in place day one. He re-implemented the policies that we proved were effective. Right now, as we speak today, because of President Trump, the men and women of ICE and the men and women of the Border Patrol who stand on that line every day, today we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. No one can argue it. The data is clear on that. I started in 1984. I've never seen the numbers this low. So again, the most secure border in the history of this nation, President Trump was able to do that in a matter of weeks, something that Biden administration didn't do in 4 years. Either wouldn't or couldn't, but we proved it didn't need legislation, didn't need all this other stuff that the last administration talked about. We needed a strong president who took America first and cared about American safety and securing that border. Securing the border at this level means we have a lot stronger national security because of the border.
Mr. Herman, the deadline.
There are laws on the books that make it a criminal offense to shield or harbor illegal immigrants, like the sanctuary states that you have been doing. Do you think they should be prosecuted, the both said law, possibly put in prison?
Now look at look on his face on that question. So I got a couple of things I want to jump in here on. First of all, on the first question, I love how Homan, language is so important, and the way you ask a question is so important. That first question was, the migrants who have been sent down to the prison in El Salvador, are we going to do anything to take them back, or are we just going to leave them there? And Homan corrected the reporter and said, "I'm sorry, do you mean the terrorists? You mean the terrorists that we sent out?" Because that's the language that needs to be at migrants. Migrant makes it sound like they've come here because they want to pick strawberries and work on the farm. They're just migrants. Actually, it's even worse than that. Migrant makes it sound like there's like, how animals migrate. I mean, listen, this is what happened. Birds fly south for the winter and then they come back. They just migrate. It's just instinctive. It's in their DNA. That's what they do. It's like so ridiculous and so demeaning of these human beings, these individuals. It sort of takes their decision-making power away from them. Like they have no abilities to actually decide, yeah, we're going to break the law and we're going to go into that country illegally. Oh, no, it's not my fault. I'm just a migrant. I have no choice. So Homan says, understand, everyone who was sent down there is either a member of MS-13, one or two of them, but the majority of them were Tren de Aragua. This is this Venezuelan gang that the president has determined is a terrorist organization. So they have been rounded up. They have been identified as members of this terrorist organization. They've been identified as being in the country illegally, and they've been sent out to a prison. So when Homan is asked, well, how long are they going to be out there? He says, wait, I'm sorry, you mean the terrorists? So you want us to take these terrorists who we've determined are terrorists and we sent them out of here, you want us to bring them back here because what? We have a death wish? Because we have a suicide pact? Because as a nation, we want to go out of our way to get a terrorist and say, hey, come back to America. We want you here because you're a terrorist. That's what we want? So I love that he did that. But now this question that you just heard, if the Trump administration had not changed the makeup of the press pool and changed who has hard passes to cover this White House and cover the presidency. And I don't know who the reporter was that asked that question, but I assure you it wasn't anyone from any of the major networks or from the major newspapers, because the question was, it's against the law to harbor an illegal alien in this country. So especially criminal illegal aliens. So those cities and jurisdictions that have sanctuary policies, do you think that they should be convicted under that law? And look at his face. Look at his face because he's so happy he got that question. And understand how these sanctuary policies work. You're in the country illegally and you're given aid and comfort and shelter. You're already breaking the law by doing that. Okay, number one. Number two, if you work for a city government, if you are a mayor or if you're a governor and you've instructed your police departments to not cooperate with ICE when there's a detaining order to deport one of the people that you have apprehended for breaking the law, you're doing way more than just giving safe harbor and shelter to an illegal immigrant who's broken our border policies. You're now actually going much further and giving aid, shelter, comfort, and refuge, sanctuary, if I can use that word, to someone who has then further broken American laws. I mean, beyond just our border security. You know, these are people who have either shoplifted or, you know, sexual predators or, you know, assault and battery, grand theft auto, whatever. So look at Homan's face as this has been teed up for him. And now let's let him go.
Absolutely. And hold tight on that one, because it's coming. It's coming. I've been clearing that since day one. The sanctuary city can sit by and watch their communities get ravaged by illegal aliens. They can watch young women get raped and murdered. Trump administration is not going to stand for that. So look, they can stand by and watch. And the Trump administration will secure their communities. The Trump administration will drive down illegal alien crime in this country. If they don't do it, we'll do it for them. But they can't. They can sit aside and watch, but they can't cross that line. When they cross the line of harboring concealing, that's a felony. And we got Pam Bondi now who won't hesitate to take action. When they can't impede in our enforcement efforts to make this country safe again, that's a felony. So President Trump's got his cabinet in place now. We got a strong AG. We got a strong Secretary of Homeland Security. We got a great group here. We got, Steve Miller, one of the most brilliant men I ever worked with when it comes to border security and interior enforcement. You're going to see a lot of things happen next few months that people should expect. Many don't, but watch what comes in the near future.
Mr. Homan, you got Democrats that are headed down to El Salvador. What's your message to them?
They're not going to change anything. We remove terrorists from this country. They're where they should be, and they want to go knock it up. What y'all be doing, y'all be in sanctuary cities in this country, taking action against the Maryland father, the Maryland illegal alien, not a father. Maryland illegal alien was arrested in the country illegally, arrested for murder, and released to the public. And it took ICE to go find them. If the Democrats will spend some time in Boston and in Los Angeles and Portland and Maryland, and go to these sanctuary cities. I don't care what party you're affiliated with, Republican, Democrat, Independent. We all should want secure communities. We all should want public safety to be number one on their agenda. I can't believe there's any Democrat politician who does not want public safety threats out of the community. Their number one responsibility is protection of the communities. But they'd rather go to El Salvador than fix the problem we just talked about in Maryland, fix the problem of Boston, fix the problem that just happened in Washington State. 2 illegal aliens tortured a woman, left her for dead by drilling on her to give her her money, access to ATM stuff. But they're going to go to El Salvador. Makes zero sense, and that just shows how out of touch of reality the Democratic Party is.
That is absolutely freaking brilliant and worthy of the mic drop emoji. It's great. It's absolutely great. 2 quick takeaways, and we'll end it there. First of all, that video could be the greatest ad for Claritin I have ever seen. Kevin, were your allergies here? The Washington, D.C. area allergies this time of year are insane. With all of that crap flying out of the air, were you? My eyes were watering just watching it. Are you with me?
It's Quinn, but yeah, allergies horrible for Kevin.
Thank you, Quinn. Kevin is so overcome by his allergies that he had to leave the booth.
He needed a minute.
All right, understood. That's number 1. Bad allergies with all that crap flying around in the air. Thank you, Quinn, for jumping in and not leaving me hanging. Number 2, during the Biden administration, and our show was on the air for the final year of the Biden presidency, and it often felt like we had to have a news cycle that ended up being a daily, relentless, horrific, depressing reminder of the repercussions of an election. When an election goes a certain way, the circumstances, the consequences of that election were obvious every single day during the Biden administration. And it was frankly depressing. It was enraging. It was awful. But we kept saying, stay hopeful, stay positive. We have an election coming up. We're moving forward. We're going to get together. We're going to keep our eye on a prize. We're going to focus because we still have a right in this country to change these things. We got to get back. Right? Do you remember last year when that was the message every single day? Because it was hard sometimes, but we kept focused and we kept positive and we were happy warriors and we moved through that election and look what happened. That video right there, Tom Homan, your borders are, considering Kamala Harris was our last borders are. Tom Homan right there is today's daily reminder on the opposite side of that coin. Yeah, elections matter, all right. Elections have consequences, all right. And finally, we are actually reaping the benefit of an election going our way. That right there is the consequence of this last election, and you made that happen. You should feel good about yourself. All right, let's talk about our swag real fast. I want you to go and buy your Larry mug because honestly, we've had a run on them, but they're still there's still plenty on the shelf. But it's store.townhallmedia.com. You got to have a Larry mug. And I have tested this mug out in various ways. This mug works for water. This mug works for coffee. This mug works for hot cocoa. That's right. I have a little hot cocoa at the end of the night. That special stuff that helps you go to sleep. It works for that. This mug works for every single possible bourbon. I mean, I haven't tried all of them, but so far, the various bourbons that I have tried in this mug, it worked beautifully for it. It even fit my giant ice cube that I like to have with my bourbon. So this mug is an all-purpose mug. It's like the Swiss Army knives of mugs. Doesn't matter what the liquid is, it's got you covered. And it's got my name on it. And the name of this show, shockingly. So get your Larry mug right now. There's a lot more over there at store.townhallmedia.com, store.townhallmedia.com. And when you get it, you're going to look super swaggy. And that's what you want. All right, imagine going to Coachella. And what do you go to Coachella for? You go to look at the chicks barely dressed, right? Or if you're a woman, you probably look at some really good-looking dudes who are barely dressed. So you go to Coachella and you go for, I guess, certain substances that'll put you in a happy mood. And you go to see some great stars, right? I mean, over the years, you've got Beyonce at Coachella, Prince, Lady Gaga, Green Day, Post Malone has played Coachella. Blink-182 has played Coachella, right? I mean, Billie Eilish has played Coachella. So cool, right? Imagine going to Coachella and the lights start flashing and the music starts playing and there, center stage, is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders played Coachella. And I want you to enjoy every little bit of it. Our great video team over at Town Hall Media put together this guy. You should check out and follow Town Hall Media on X and see some of the great stories they've been putting together with these threads. Here's Coachella with Bernie Sanders, and it's a great reflection of where things are right now in the Democrat Party. First of all, Coachella, $600 general admission ticket. VIP tickets are $1,200. $150 to $10,000 for your camping options, $20 to $30 per meal, $15 for one beer, and then, of course, you get one decrepit politician who went for free to preach his radical politics. I mean, it's a good point. It's hard to argue. And look at the imagery there of Bernie. They brought their own camera crew. They had their drone. They had the whole shebang. What did he have to say? Well, Joe Concha actually made a good point about this. Take a look at Joe.
Joe Concha has some strong feelings about this.
Bernie Sanders goes there as well, I guess, to appeal to the working man and woman, the same senator who owns 3 homes and is worth millions of dollars. So the hypocrisy is so pure. That's Bernie's audience. Yeah. And then we heard his partner in crime, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, just last week, flying to a Fight the Oligarchy rally. Flew first class. This is something where the Democratic Party really has some problems right now because Donald Trump has co-opted the very voters that used to reliably vote Democrat.
That's right. I love Joe. He's a good guy. And it's all great points. Okay, so what about Coachella by the credit card? What? All right, here, take a look.
Well, look, a new opinion piece has this headline: of all the things to go into debt for, these Americans choose the dumbest possible thing. Here's part of it. How desperate and stupid do you have to be if you are willing to go into debt for a concert? Our culture is so rotten that instead of looking for a way to get married, buy a home, start a real life, 20-somethings are willing to ruin their financial future over Lady Gaga. Look, we're talking about the fact, the reports now that people have taken out loans. They are seriously going into debt to go see the concert. And, you know, Sanders is just one of the names added to the bill. And that audience is huge. I don't know if they, care that he's there. Well, look, a new opinion piece.
It's a good point. But think about that for a minute. People are going into debt. So this is Bernie Sanders. These are his people. And he's going there to rally support for his, well, it's the same socialist message he's had literally since the 90s. It's the same oligarchy. He's literally been saying this since 1996, I think, or earlier. And you're going into debt over this? And this is supposed to be, I mean, listen, if you want to trust your government's finances to a socialist, just look at how good that's worked out in all of those great, thriving communist countries around the planet. So I guess it makes sense that these are Bernie's people. But there's more.
See him, but he came to see them, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's his focus is on young, ideological, not really understanding what's going on in the world. There used to be an old saying, if you're not progressive or liberal when you're 20s, you don't have a heart. If you're not conservative and fiscally conservative when you're in your 40s, you don't have a brain, right? So, I mean, it's an old saying, but it just goes, they haven't lived life. So, yeah, these things sound wonderful. But how do we get in this predicament in the first place? We transferred from a nation of rugged individualism that became the #1 country in the world. And over a period of time, beginning with the Great Depression, we lost a lot of that. In the 60s and 70s is when the nail was put in the coffin, because big government became bigger and they would solve every single problem, every nuance, every social slight. And they've been running on that. You can find videos of Bernie Sanders, the greatest hits, saying the same speech over and over again for at least 25 years. And it's a recruitment. It's not even about a plan to do anything. It's just a recruiting tool for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you can really rev up an audience about politics. I believe there are some alcoholic beverages, perhaps. I don't know what the crowd's been on, but it's nighttime. They spent all that money, went into debt to get there. They're partying. Woohoo! And a politician shows up on stage. They probably clap for anybody just hoping he gets off. I don't even know if they know who he is at that point. They're having fun.
No, they're having fun. And again, they feel like, okay, this is they learn about fairness. That's the main thing they've been learning about, and then their minds, what he's saying sounds right. It sounds fair.
I hear you.
Then they learn history. Then they start writing bills. And then all of a sudden they start getting a check. And who is this FICO person getting a big piece of my action? Real life.
Yeah, in fact, that's where the whole fairness narrative falls apart, because you realize that you're paying for people to basically take your money, steal your money, and waste your money. By the way, if I could, Charles, and I like what they do over at Fox and all that jazz, but this whole idea, it's an old canard, and I understand it. If you're young and you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart, but if you're old and you're not a conservative, you don't have a brain. Someone said Winston Churchill came up with that first. I'm not sure if that's the case. Kind of just push back on that a little bit, because, I mean, I'm not a teenager. I've been in the working world for a long time. I'm a father of 4. I'm a working man. I'm of a certain age. I'm a Gen Xer. I think I've got a heart. I'm a conservative, and by definition, as an older gentleman, and I'm a conservative, that means I've got a brain, right? But I actually think I have a heart. In fact, when I look at the policies of the Republican Party right now and the conservative movement in America and what President Trump has been promoting, actually, it takes a lot of heart. I care deeply for innocent victims of crime in this country, so much so that I want them protected by putting criminals away for a very long time. And I want to send the message that anybody who's even thinking about committing a crime, especially a violent crime, we are going to come down on you like a ton of bricks, because we value the innocent person's life that you're about to harm. See, it takes heart to want to promote law and order. You have to have feelings and love for your fellow man to protect them in a lawful, civilized nation. When I see a homeless person on the street, I want that cleaned up. I want that situation taken care of. Why? Because I have a heart. I care about that person. If there's somebody who is in desperate straits and living on the street, they're living there for one of several reasons. If they're addicted to substances, I think they should get straight and they should fix themselves. And as a member of society, I'm okay participating in helping them along the way. Maybe they've got mental illness. Well, if you've got mental illness, you shouldn't be living on the streets. I would like to take care of that person. I think there should be private-public partnerships, faith-based partnerships. The very best, most effective shelters in our major inner cities are run by churches, where they help people with mental illness and with addictions get their lives back in order and get the help that they need. I'm in favor of that. I have a heart. The other reason why someone's living on the street is because they're a criminal, because they don't care about society, because they want to be there. Well, they should be taken care of too. But either way, it doesn't take a heart, it doesn't take empathy, it doesn't take love for your fellow man to walk past a person who is sleeping on the streets, living on the streets, urinating on the streets, defecating on the streets, fornicating on the streets. And yes, that's happening. Go to Los Angeles, you'll see it. It doesn't take heart and empathy to just walk by and say, hey, keep Austin weird. No. It takes heart to actually want our laws enforced. And every single city in America has a law against criminal vagrancy. I refuse to accept this narrative that as a conservative wanting to enforce the law, that I don't have a heart. I care about those people living on the street more than the liberals do, because I actually want them to do better for themselves. Now, I don't accept that anymore. I have a huge heart. I'm a loving, empathetic, compassionate person. I am a conservative. Everyone else who wants the chaos in our country, who doesn't want laws respected, who wants men to be able to compete against women in sports, who wants to fund children changing their bodies and mutilating their genitalia, that doesn't take heart. That doesn't take compassion. You're a monster. We got to change that phrase. If you're young and you're a liberal, you don't have a heart. And if you're old and you're liberal, you don't have a brain. There, fixed it for you. All right, we sort of went off on a tangent there because it was all about Bernie at Coachella, but I decided to, sort of spin off at the end. I hope that's okay. Buy my book. It's called Shameless Liars, How Trump Defeated the Legacy Media and Made Them Irrelevant. It's a great book. I cover the 2024 presidential election and the brand new media world that we're living in right now, where there are no more corporate gatekeepers. You already know about that because you're watching this show. But buy the book, hardcover, paperback, and audiobook. I narrate it. We got a lot of sales on the audiobook yesterday. You must like my voice, and I appreciate it. Go to Amazon, buy the damn thing. Wow, I just shook everything in my room by doing that. Well, Joe Biden's back. And right here, I, as a Republican and member of the media, I am thrilled. I want more Biden out. Every day, I got to see some Biden in my life. First of all, it makes my job easier. Every day we got to say, well, what are you going to talk about today? When Biden shows up, that's a segment. Takes care of itself. You'll see in a second. But secondly, I want the world to remember. I want the world to remember when they see Joe Biden out there, that he and his team in the White House and his party just 7 months ago were telling you that he is perfectly fit to run for 4 more years. And the media went along with it too. Even better, when we pointed out that he looks like he's, maybe missing a step, maybe he's got some mental problems or some cognitive issues or some physical problems, or maybe he's just freaking old. Well, they called us names. They said we were liars. They said we were engaging in propaganda. What did they call it? Cheap fakes were the videos that we showed you every single day. And the people in the media, they went along with that too. Yeah, that's why I want Biden out there every single day, because I want everyone to remember what they were trying to sell us until they realized they just couldn't sell it anymore. So we'll begin Joe Biden's triumphant return to the American political stage with Caroline Leavitt, spokesperson for the White House, yesterday.
My first reaction when seeing former President Biden was speaking tonight was, I'm shocked that he is speaking at nighttime. I thought his bedtime was much earlier than his speech tonight. I understand the topic of his speech will be Social Security. Let me make it very clear ahead of former President Biden's remarks. President Trump, is absolutely certain about protecting Social Security benefits for law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens and seniors who have paid into this program. He will always protect that program. He campaigned on it. He protected it in his first term, and he's back again to continue protecting.
All right, so that's right. You heard it right there. Joe Biden finally making his triumphant return to the American political stage, cashing a big fat check to deliver a speech to scare old people about Social Security. And it's full of lies, by the way. Absolute, complete, and total lies about Joe Biden and Social Security, and he's taken the money to the bank for delivering the speech. So let's take a look at it, shall we? It began kind of a rocky start. Pro tip, everybody. Listen, Joe Biden, you got to forgive him. See, Joe's only been a politician for, 55 years? He's only been in the public eye and giving political speeches since, when bell bottoms were cool. It's like when the Brady Bunch was still on the air. The Beatles were still together when Joe Biden began his political career. And so, you got to give him a little bit of a help here and give him a tip. Here's a tip, Joe. When they introduce you, they're going to play music. Wait for the music to be done before you start speaking. Right, Joe?
Thank you.
Who deserve help and paid for.
Oh my God, that is amazing. And I love that the sound guy didn't even try to do the slow fade. It was like, obviously somebody was like, kill it, kill it, kill it. And they just, I only wish that when you finally got the music out of there and you could finally hear Joe Biden's voice, I wanted him to say, and that's the most important thing I'm going to say today, and I'm not going to say it again. Now, let's move on to the rest of my speech. Oh, that would have been glorious. All right. A little bit more from Joe Biden when I do love it when Biden goes off prompter and starts telling stories about his youth. It's like we're all sitting by the fireside and like, Joe, we're drinking our hot cocoa. We're relaxed. We got a fire in front of us. Do tell us about your days, your childhood days. Will you, Joe?
And I'd never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time I was only going in 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. And
I'm sorry, did he just say what I think he said? Hold on. Clearly, first of all, I thought he spent all of his youth in a black church. Didn't he tell us that? I spent more time in a black church than most of you people have. I was raised in a black church, right? Wasn't that what we were? And now it's not till 4th grade. He's 10 years old when he sees his first black person, but he didn't. Hold on. I got to break this down.
And I was only going in 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by.
All right. So did he say at the time they were called colored kids? Or did he say, I remember them going by at the time they were colored kids?
And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by.
Either way, not a good look. Either way, probably not the best thing, Joe. All right. Well, maybe it got better when he went back on teleprompter.
Republicans, or these guys, are willing to hurt the middle class and the working class in order to deliver significant greater wealth to the already very wealthy. Who in the hell do they think they are? It's never been this divided. Granted, it's roughly 30%, but it's a 30% that has no heart.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, listen, that's the Joe Biden we've known and loved. So we've never been this divided, he says. He was just president for 4 years, and I thought he said when he ran for president that it was going to be his goal, his mission to unite this country. Now, he's only been out of office for 85 days. So how good a job did he do there in uniting our country? So if we've never been this divided, Joe, are you basically admitting that you're a complete and total failure with the one thing you said you were going to do as president, which is unite us? By the way, what was that last thing he said about Trump supporters, Republican? What was it?
It's divided. Granted, it's roughly 30%, but it's a 30% that has no heart.
So first of all, I hate to do the math for you, Joe, but Kamala Harris lost not only the Electoral College in a miserable fashion, but she also lost the popular vote, which means by definition, Donald Trump got a lot more than just 30%. But maybe he's just saying the hardcore MAGA supporters, which, by the way, NBC News poll released yesterday, 37% of Americans now consider themselves MAGA Republicans, not 30. But let's just go with it. 30%. He thinks 30% who would identify as MAGA Republicans.
Granted, it's roughly 30%, but it's a 30% that has no heart.
They have no heart. So this is the man who is now lamenting that we've never been this divided. This is a man who has been in public office, by the way, since 1971, when he first started running for office. He's been a senator, he's been a vice president, and he's been a president. And maybe, Joe, you're part of the problem if we're that divided in this country, considering you've been a part at the highest level of American politics. Maybe the way you go about your job, maybe the way you lied and tore down Robert Bork during his confirmation hearings in the 80s, maybe the way you lied and tore down Clarence Thomas during his confirmation hearings, maybe the way you lied about Mitt Romney and George W. Bush and Ronald Reagan and every other Republican. Maybe you're part of the problem here in terms of why we're so divided. But now the cherry on top, he's so upset that we're so divided. Sure, maybe it's just 30%, but those people have no heart. Gee, I wonder why we're so divided. When you can stand up there as a former president and say that 30% of our country has no heart. And why do they have no heart? Because they didn't vote the way you wanted them to vote. I would love, by the way, for him to explain the other 20% of Trump voters who voted. I guess he thinks they have a heart, but I wonder what his other reasoning would be there, right? As if he can reason. Can I remind you, he got paid to deliver this speech? Some organization out there actually gave him money to deliver this speech. And the speech was full of lies to scare old people about Social Security.
100 days, this new administration has done so much damage and so much destruction. It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon.
Oh, actually, not really. We saw it when you were president, how quickly things went to hell. And I believe you put together your plan for the Afghanistan withdrawal in March of your first term. So, I mean, yeah, you didn't execute it until August, but still, you can move pretty fast, Joe. But again, let's watch this clip one more time and then reflect on just Joe Biden, the man, the delivery. The message is one thing, but what about
100 days? This new administration has done so much damage and so much destruction. It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon.
All right, so say what you will about Joe Biden, but after watching that clip, I got to admit, he's looking good. He's looking, this is probably the best he's ever looked in a while, right? I mean, look at him. He is sharp as a tack. He is obviously in great physical health. Never better, in fact. I'm thinking they might run him in 28.
Simple dignity. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their standing, regardless of economic situation, regardless of who they are. Making sure that more than 60 million Americans who are living with disabilities are treated with dignity is who we are as Americans. That's what it's about.
Man, I do love it when he gets angry and starts screaming at the audience, screaming at us, screaming at Americans. I think he thinks that that's a way to get applause, and they did start clapping for him, but you miss him, don't you? You miss this kind of attitude. You may miss this kind of anger. You miss this kind of bullshit. We are so past this as a nation. But he wasn't done. He had more fear tactics, more scare tactics, more lies about the Trump administration.
It's about who we are as Americans. Who are we? What makes us distinct from the rest of the world? It comes down to basic, in my view, fundamental American values. Nobody's king. Nobody's the boss. Everybody has a shot.
Didn't Bruce Springsteen campaign with him? I think he did. I wonder how he feels about that.
Nobody's the boss. Everybody has a shot.
I mean, I'm not a big Springsteen fan, but I'm pretty sure he likes to be called the boss. I'm going to let our colleague here at Town Hall Media, Guy Benson, have the last word on this. He appeared on Fox and Friends this morning.
President Trump has promised not to touch either program. That's disappointing to me, but I think politically I get why Trump has done it. It's because of this, right? The Democrats are attacking Republicans for a non-existent policy that has no basis in fact, just because they hope it would resonate. It's actually a bipartisan consensus right now to not touch Social Security, and yet they roll out Joe Biden to talk about it anyway to try to scare older people, which is, I guess, part of their playbook. But
yeah, that's exactly their playbook. In fact, it's not just part of their playbook. It's all they've got. Good job, Guy. Good to see you. We'll see you around the office there in the town hall corridors. Biden's back. This is going to be the message. They're probably going to do more of this. I guess they think that older voters are going to like him because he's one of them. And he's just going to lie. He's just going to scare people and say that Social Security benefits are going down. There are reforms coming to Social Security, 100%. And those reforms have to do with getting rid of the people who are wasting money, getting rid of fraud at Social Security, making sure that the people who are getting Social Security are only the people who are supposed to be getting Social Security legally, and ensuring that the program is sound enough for the future people who do deserve to have Social Security, who are citizens and taxpayers and who deserve to get their benefits. But I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but trotting out this guy who has some level of authority for some people in this country, you know, they think that he knows what he's talking about because he was the president, and have him go out there and tell 75, 80-year-olds that their Social Security checks are going to dry up and they're not going to be able to get any money in their final years when they're on a fixed income right now and trying to retire and trying to live out their life. And they're going to freak out now because Biden, with his authority, with his imprimatur, goes out there and tells them that Trump's taking it all away. Hey, it's politics, I guess. And as Guy said, that's their messaging. And I guess it's a strategy. But I don't know. It's kind of evil. It's horrible. It's despicable. It's Joe Biden. And that's the Biden brand. Glad he got to make some money, though, because Hunter's not selling any paintings anymore, and he just had to give up his law license, you know, because he's a criminal. There's no other money coming into the family, so he's all they've got. It's kind of sad in a way, and I would feel sorry for him if he wasn't such a complete and total pathetic jerk. And that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you for the Angela $5 super chat. Contrary to idiot senator from Maryland, I would argue Lakin Riley, Rachel Moore, and Jocelyn Nungary, and so many others are the most vulnerable. I know, isn't it amazing? I forgot to point that out, and thank you, Angela, for catching that. When he's out there grandstanding at Dulles Airport, I'm getting on my plane to... By the way, who's paying for that flight? I would love to know who's paying for him to go to El Salvador. If it's the taxpayers, oh boy. As an actual bona fide Maryland man, I have much to say about that. But if it's not, if it's an interest group, if it's some think tank or some activist group, I think we deserve to know that too. Either way, great point, Angela. Thank you for that super chat. And for the $2 super chat, the real dismantling is Bozo's legacy. Bravo, DJT. Yeah, bravo, Donald Trump as well. And we do need to dismantle that legacy one horrific policy at a time. Thank you, Angela. And thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. We are going to be back from an undisclosed location tomorrow, but you'll see us. It's just going to be a different set because we're on the road. It'll be awesome. We'll tell you all about it tomorrow. But in the meantime, my name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry.